Hello, Eric.
Hey, there we are. How's it going?
Dude, what's going on, man? This is Zach Moonshine from Metal Devastation Radio.
Hey, nice to meet you, Zach.
Hell yeah, dude. You're live right now on the air.
Oh, thanks, man. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect, dude. So,
oh, fantastic.
So how's it going, man? What's going on in the world of Cold Black River? We were just jamming a tune and fucking loving it, man.
Oh, fantastic, man. Thank you so much. We appreciate that a lot. It's my crack of beer. Well, we just are able to finally say that we are playing Doomed and Stoned, Wisconsin this year in Milwaukee in November.
That is badass, man.
We are so thrilled. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh, yeah. Congrats on that, dude.
Thank you so much, man. And then with the release of this CD, things have really been blowing up. It's been pretty great.
Hell yeah, yeah. It sounds fucking badass, man. Fucking, So, have you guys announced that yet on social media about Doomed and Stoned, or is that the first?
You guys are getting the first taste of it. This is it. I just got confirmation at the Sleep Show a couple of nights ago from Tom Jordan to say that we could go ahead and let people know that we got it. It's kick-ass.
Dude, that is fucking cool, man. Seriously. Oh, yeah.
We're so stoked. There's really good bands around here, too, so it's just going to be a hell of a show.
Tell us a little bit about the lineup on that.
Well, some that I know of, Droid's Attack will probably be on that bill, which is kick-ass. High Gallows out of Milwaukee should be on that bill as well, and you guys need to check them out. They're absolutely amazing. There'll be us. I'd like to find out some more about the bill, but right now that's the most that I know. Right on, man.
So tell us about the band. How'd you guys get started, and how long have you been doing this?
Thank you. Jeremy and I played in this band called Hellephant, and we're actually doing a Hellephant reunion show in September, which is kick-ass. And it's a 6-member band. It's hard to get schedules together, so we all kind of said, let's take a break for a little bit and work on some other projects. And Jeremy and I broke off and said, let's play some heavier tunes. Let's play some tunes that have some hooks to them. It doesn't matter if they're 7 minutes long or not. And, you know, kick them out. And we picked up Aaron out of Beloit, and he threw some drum tracks on it, and we realized that we had something that we really wanted to work with. And one of the best songs that we like to play live is a song called Hillbilly Zeus that goes over pretty well. It's got some pretty good hooks in it, and the riff in it is just a monster.
Hell yeah. The band name Cold Black River, how'd you guys come up with that? Is there a story behind it?
Yeah, there is. You know, it's so hard to find like an original band name anymore. I mean, a lot of people would agree with that, and I've seen so many bands that have duplicate names, but what do you do if you like a name, you go with it. We originally started off as this band called Wicked Tree, which I thought was cool. I thought it kind of came off the tongue pretty cool, but we found another band out of Milwaukee that also had Wicked in their name, so we didn't want to cross swords with that. So we basically sort of just got baked, sat down and said, well, what are some descriptive words of, you know, the sound that we're trying to create here? And, you know, Cold Black River kind of came together. In Wisconsin, it's cold as hell. It might get down to 27 below. And, you know, the sound kind of rolls with that. It has a groove to it. It's dark, and it keeps going.
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm down here in Tennessee. It's fucking hot as fuck down here, but I do a lot of fishing. I do a lot of fishing and hanging out in fucking swamps and lakes and stuff and rivers. So when I saw the name Cold Black River, I don't know, immediately I thought fish. So I clicked on it.
Absolutely. No, it's perfect. Well, and all the creepy things that go with the river, you know, you can find all kinds of spooky, scary things inside of a river in certain instances, and you know, that works to our favor as well.
Oh yeah, man. Very cool, dude. Got some questions from the chat room. Let's see. Thunderous wants to know, what kind of smoke do you guys like?
Well, we mostly smoke trees, but often we'll vape. In Madison, we actually have like a really excellent stock of bud, so you have your choice of whatever you're really looking for. And it's kind of funny because now Wisconsin is sort of this island that's surrounded by states that all have legal weed in some way, shape, or form, especially with Illinois most recently. So I think the tide's turning here pretty soon. We actually had a couple of guys tried to open up a Rastafarian church, and I put big quotes on that here in Madison. And then all you had to do, of course, was become a member of the church, and then you can have your sacrament. But that didn't last very long. I think that lasted about a couple of weeks.
Nice. Hey, at least they tried, dude.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, shit, thinking outside of the box, man.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea, though, for sure. So tell us about like the lyrical content of some of these songs. What are the themes behind these tracks?
Cool. Well, with the latest album, it's called Tales of Death and the Devil, so that's very literal. Most of the songs are either about death or about the devil or something like that. When you go to the first song, which is actually Keep Rollin', the one that has lyrics to it, it's sort of like from the devil's perspective, but the devil is the scapegoat for all the things that are bad or evil. The funny thing is he's more than willing to take on that role, and that's kind of what the story tells inside of that song. And then we have Oh My Goddess, which is another standout song on this album. If you ask me, I really like the groove of that one quite a bit. And that's actually about a witch sacrifice. So like in Salem, where they were sacrificing women because they were supposed to be witches. But it actually gets turned on its head, because if you were to sacrifice her, then you actually raise the Leviathan from the ocean. And that's how the song ends. So we like to play with themes that are of that world. You know, we like H.P. Lovecraft, we love Conan, we love anything that's dark and mysterious and weird, but we also don't take it too seriously. A lot of it's tongue-in-cheek. Like with Hillbilly Zeus, a couple albums before that, it's about if all of the ancient Greek gods were actually hillbillies, and the new Messiah comes to visit them and like get advice about being the new god, quote unquote, and sort of gets this beat down in the song, which is kind of fun. So we try to have fun with it, but we try to give people something to listen to. I prefer songs that have a story to it or have some sort of point. I don't particularly like songs that just have a hook or no real meaning to it. I like to have something to sort of think about and talk about.
Very cool, man. Speaking of that, can you tell us a little bit about your influences?
Oh, absolutely. If you guys played some of it and you've listened to some of it, you can obviously hear Clutch in there. Of course, we love those guys. We've listened to them our entire lives. They're fantastic. There's definitely some Sabbath in there. Usually when I talk to people outside of the genre, you know, normies or whatever, I say if you like Alice in Chains and you like Sabbath, you're probably going to like us, and that usually gets people to turn their ear and give us a listen. What's interesting is we often end up if we're on a rock bill, we're the metal band. But if we're on a metal bill, we're the rock band, because we fit in this really weird space. It also works out in our favor, though. So if you're at a metal show and it's metal, then us, it kind of breaks things up, and people tend to dig that. And if you're at a rock show and it's rock, and then us, people, glom onto the heavier stuff at that point, which is kick-ass.
Oh yeah. Speaking of live shows, what would you say is one of your best live shows yet?
We just played this thing called Shred Fest, and I think it was the first one here in Wisconsin. I want to say it was in Appleton at this really amazing theater. And again, we had all these really killer bands from the area. We had the Wardens from Wausau. We had Droids Attack from Madison. We had High Gallows from Milwaukee, and then you had our dumbasses out there. But what was really great is you have all these bands that are really putting it out, and in my opinion, at the top of their game. And so you're like, you have to be at the top of your game playing with these guys. You can't get up there and just fuck around. And it was fantastic. The other thing that was great about it is everybody's so supportive of each other. It's not a competitive thing. My band's better than your band. It's like, wow, you guys fucking kick ass. And you're like, cool, thank you. Or vice versa, because all of those bands I mentioned kick ass.
That's cool, man. That's definitely cool. Another question from the chat. Thunderous wants to know, what do you guys like to drink? Or do you drink?
If I'm out at a show, I usually get a Makers on the Rocks, and I'll get a Coke Chaser with that, pun intended. At rehearsal, I drink a local beer. It's called Mountain Crest, It's a union-made beer here in Wisconsin that I like and nobody else likes, and that makes me happy because it means at practice nobody steals my beer.
Hell yeah. I heard that, man.
Absolutely.
Speaking of, well, with your practices and stuff, the mix on this record sounds really live and really organic. Can you tell us about the recording process of it? Like, how did you guys do this?
Absolutely. This is our third album with this studio here in town called Spaceship. The engineer and the proprietor, his name is Dustin Boyle, is, I don't know, man, he's absolutely amazing. He's not just technically proficient as an engineer, but he has a really great ear, and he has a great sense for sound. With this particular album, we did something kind of weird. I was talking to him about how did, the Beatles do it? How did the Stones do it? How did the old rock and roll bands do it without all the technology that we have right now? And have these really vibrant, distinct, sharp-sounding albums where you hear everything very clearly, the bass, the drums, the vocals, everything has its space and it fits comfortably there. And he talked about, going live to tape, and he talked about how at the end process where nowadays you would master it, quote unquote, to bring everything up, they would have a similar process, but they would, again, just send it through another tape machine and just sort of bump everything up on the EQ a little bit, and that was it. That's all you got. And I said, well, how come we can't get that sound now with, all this wonderful technology that we have? So what we decided to do was, when we recorded it, we recorded all of the tracks straight, and then after we recorded all the tracks and layered them, we went ahead and started to mix and master at the same time, as though we just had that one track and we were just going to play off of that. And through that, it kind of helped us to manipulate the sound a lot better and really just pull the cleaner parts of everything out. The other great thing about this album, and also recording with this guy for the third time, was we're all extremely comfortable with each other. We're extremely comfortable with the space. And so we were able to get these tracks much quicker, much faster than in previous sessions. And another thing that worked out exceptionally well for us was we were able to road test all of these songs before we went into the studio. So we didn't just write songs, go to the studio, and then tour on the album. We wrote the songs, toured with those songs, and then cut the album. And I think that made a tremendous difference for our sound as well.
Very cool, man. Yeah. Kind of like how Black Sabbath did their first record, how they just went in there and just fucking hammered them out because they already knew the song, so they just went in there and fucking laid it all down in like 24 hours and it was done.
It's amazing. You hear the stories about these old albums. The first Doors album was real similar to that. I think that one was done in less than a week.
Yeah.
The first Stooges album was like that.
Zeppelin.
They basically went in there, I think, with 4 songs, really, and then wrote the rest of the songs in the studio and then released the album. And you can kind of tell, but shit, it's proto rock, it's badass. So, yeah, we wanted to try to have some sort of a feel like that, so I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, I think it's cool when it's done like that, too, because maybe it's because they didn't fuck with it too much, they didn't have the time to just sit there and just keep on changing things and adding things and doing things. It just was what it was. Like, when it was done, and there was no more time to do anything, and it was fucking cut it to tape and it's done, Well,
I think you bring up a really great point. You're talking about you don't have enough time to fuck with it more, and I think there's a lot to be said about that. There's an old phrase. It's there's eloquence in simplicity, meaning that a lot of times the simpler it is, the more eloquent it is, the more you can reach more people with it, even. And I would agree with what you said 100%.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Yeah, I've done. I had my own project that I was doing for a while where I was playing music and recording my own stuff. And I often noticed that myself. Like, sometimes I would go in and I would change the mix and add things, and later on do this and that. But then later on down the road, I would listen to those first demo tracks, those first demo sessions that I'd done, and I was like, that sounds so much better before I did all that, and just, so it's like, yeah, I totally get that, man.
I I think you get to the heart of it, because when you do those first recordings like that, like you get baked and you're on the couch and you grab your guitar and you grab your phone, you record that riff, that's the inspiration. And the more you go with that inspiration, that rawness of that, I think it's more pure.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me ask you about your the local scene there. What can you tell us about the other bands and the metalheads there in your area?
We have a really great scene here. Of course, we talked about Droids Attack are from here, of course. Bongzilla's from here. We just had Sleep here at a theater called the Sylvie on Monday night. And it was funny because one of our friends posted on Facebook, it's like, this is a who's who of Wisconsin hard rock and metal. And it was. Everybody was there, from all of the old bands like Die Cruisin' back in the day, and some of the older versions of Bongzilla and all those guys, all the way to the guys that are coming out now, that are, you know, really tearing it up here in Wisconsin. Like I said, Wardens is a really amazing band. Atala is an amazing band out of the North Country as well. What I like about Wisconsin and what I like about Madison itself is, again, it's very supportive. I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I moved up here 16 years ago. And in Tulsa, things at that time, I don't think it's that way now, were kind of competitive. You had to compete for gigs, and you had to sort of compete on these kind of ugly levels. And when I came up here, it's more supportive. People are like, hey, your band is really good. We want to play with you, or we want to support you in some way. Or they'll call you and say, hey, can we book a gig with you? Things like that, instead of like, my gig's competing against your gig. Especially in the summertime, we have so many gigs going on and so many really good venues here. We have a new venue called Crucible that's absolutely amazing. The people there are fantastic, and the venue is great. The High Noon is fantastic here. The Wisco is your favorite dive bar ever, and we have so many really kick-ass bands come in from all across the country and the world that play this tiny little room. And if you put 40 people in this room, it feels gigantic, and it's awesome. What else do we have? Oh, yeah, we also have Barley Pop Live that just opened up, and what's great about that guy is he's totally willing to book metal and harder acts at this show. Venue that used to be the Frequency there. And, again, we're not hurting for places to play. We're not hurting for bands to play with, and everybody is pretty supportive here. So it's kind of hard to beat.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, that's definitely gotta be good. That's gotta be a lot better when you have everybody sort of pitching in and helping each other out like that. You know, it's, instead of the competition, like what you were saying.
Oh, for sure. I think a lot of it is just respect. You know, people tend to respect each other really well. And, you know, I talk to a lot of my friends that are from here that tour and go out and stuff, and they say that there are tons of other scenes that are out there that are exactly the same, which is really nice to hear. That's exactly what you want to hear, that people are out there supporting local music and supporting metal and supporting hard rock and, you know, tearing stuff up out there and keeping the scene going. We were just talking about just the more you support each other and the more that you help each other out, even if you don't like somebody's sound or something like that, the better off you're going to be in the long run, because you're supporting the scene as a whole and keep it alive, you keep it vibrant.
Yeah, I was watching a documentary a while ago about the Seattle grunge movement that happened in the 90s, and that's what all the bands were saying about that area at that time, was that everybody was really supportive and helping each other out and pushing each other versus trying to beat each other down like they were down in California and stuff. So like a lot of bands were leaving California, going up north to Seattle to get to that, because it was just such a big, you know, thing of support. And it obviously that I think that had a big part to do with why it exploded so much too, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think every town has sort of had its heyday like that. You know, you can reach back and hear stories about Athens, Georgia having a scene like that. You can hear about Austin, Texas, of course, having a scene like that. And it also depends on what music that you listen to, too. If you're really into blues, there are cities for that, without a doubt. I don't know. Are you supporting it because it's art, or are you supporting it because it's a commodity? And I think that's it's something that people should talk about more when it comes to music.
Very true, man. Another question, where would you like to play if you could play anywhere, and who would you open up for if you could open up for anybody?
Awesome. My girlfriend is from the Netherlands, and so we go over there every other year to visit family and hang out and stuff, which is fantastic because, of course, Amsterdam is great, but there are other cities in that country that are also absolutely outstanding. But they have a show out there every year called the Roadburn Festival, and that usually tends to have a lot of absolutely top-notch metal and doom and stoner bands. You know, Bongzilla, I'm sure, plays it every single year, along with, you know, every other stoner metal band you've ever heard of. So I would absolutely love to be a part of that festival at some point, because that is absolutely amazing.
Got another question for you from the chat. Necrosian wants to know, what kind of instruments do you guys use?
I like that name. That's awesome. Myself, I play a Marcus Miller bass. It's by this company called Sire. My sister's husband, who is also a bass player, turned me on to them. And basically the company's idea is to have, you know, like $1,000 or $1,300 bass for sale for like half, like $700. Or you could get a $700 bass for like $350 with active pickups and all these other really great things that go with it. I'm like, all right, I'll try it out. You know, here's $400. Give me a bass. Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. It feels like a guitar more than it feels like a bass, if that makes sense to everybody. And the scale's not any smaller. It's just that light and that dexterous. The other reason I like playing it is because it really tends to hold the note a lot better than some other guitars. Sometimes you'll hit a note and it just won't ring out. This guitar pulls a lot of that back and really holds the note, which I absolutely love. My stack is an SVT 300-watt tube amp head that I adore. I also have a blue line that I play through, and I have to play through an 810 because I really like to push the air. Jeremy, on the other hand, plays Gibson. He likes his Les Pauls. He's got the Black Widow. He's got, what does he play? He plays his Orange amp, and he also has an Avatar cabinet, and I like that Avatar cabinet myself, actually, quite a bit. Aaron, our drummer, plays on his Tama Superstar Maple, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's got the sunburst finish on it, and he likes his Heisty and Sabian cymbals. I think that covers everything.
Nice. What about microphones?
Microphones. I actually went to the Sennheiser. I call it the Sennheiser Blue because it's like an SM58, but with a little bit more kick, and it has the blue cover on it. It's funny, I'll take that to shows sometimes because sometimes you don't want to share mics with people. And I'll give it to the sound guy, and he'll look at me at first, and then he'll plug it in, and then he's like, okay, I understand why you got this. It also kind of fits my voice really well. I feel like I can manipulate it a little bit more than just a regular 58 or whatever.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that reminds me, I saw I think it was a meme or something that somebody posted a while back about using the microphones that are there in the clubs that everybody uses, and it was like a close-up image of the microphone, the foam inside with all the bacteria and stuff fucking growing in it because of everybody's spit and everything. And I was like,
oh, I believe it. Well, I'm also, that being said, I mean, we've all played on that microphone, and you know what? Maybe it makes us stronger.
There you go. Gotta put hair on your chest, man. Fuck yeah. Another question for the chat. Bad Wizard wants me to ask you about the Metal Monkey Brewery show and the Day of Doom. He says he's going to go try and see those.
Oh, man, I'm so glad they brought that up. That's really cool. Let me tell you about these guys at this brewery. I guess it's the owner. This guy loves what he does, and he loves metal. And so these things like come together in this perfect two puzzle pieces coming together. We were extremely pleased to be asked to be on this bill with these other bands. We have just started going down to Illinois and playing shows, so we've recently played a couple of shows in Chicago. So this brings us back down in that general area. We're super thrilled to be a part of that. Anything that supports heavy music and brings beer into the picture is always a fantastic thing.
Hell yeah. Now, let me ask you one question that I like to ask everybody that comes on the show. What's one of the most fucked up, crazy things that you can remember seeing at a show, either your own or somebody else's, something that sticks out in your mind?
Oh, gosh. Well, not to date myself, but so I don't know if you guys did the same transition. I think everybody transitions into heavy music in a different way. For me, it's like I started off with the outlaw country and the rock that my parents listened to, and then you move into like Sabbath and Ozzy, and then for me, I even went into thrash and the heavier stuff, and then into death and blah 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 blah, and you make your way through all that fun stuff. It's I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little bit. What else you got?
Well, I'm 41, so I definitely understand what you mean. Like, I remember getting into... First, like, I got into fucking Iron Maiden and Motley Crue and stuff like that. And then when I seen Metallica, they did that video for One on MTV, that fucking changed everything right there. I was like, what the fuck is this, man? It's black and white. They're pissed off looking. They're fucking, it was totally different from everything else that was being played on the radio and MTV and stuff like that at the time. And then that sort of led me down that road to trying to find even more heavier stuff.
Well, it reminds me of when we were young and we were punks and we were super fucking angry and we would do anything and everything to piss off authority. I've seen... We used to have this club in Tulsa called El Pistolero, and I clearly remember this like it happened yesterday. There's this punk with the mohawk. He's totally trash. There's all these used couches all around the whole club and everything. He goes over to a couch. He lifts up the cushion, barfs into the couch, and then puts the cushion right back down. Not a second later, somebody comes and sits down onto the cushion. So that's a classic. The El Pistolero actually had a toilet that you could sit on in the main room, and unfortunately, people would actually use it, so that would get pretty gross. And it wasn't attached to anything; it was just a chair, but it was a toilet. I remember Fleshies from California. If you guys haven't heard of these guys, please check them out. They're not around anymore, but they made some really beautiful music. We were playing a show, and the drummer had to piss so bad, and he's like calling out the audience, like, "Should I piss my pants? Should I piss my pants?" And everybody's like, "Yeah, piss your pants." And of course, he pissed his pants. I'm sure that had to be pretty regretful about 30 seconds later. Most crazy stuff. The craziest thing probably would be, there's a guy here in town, his name is Ray. And Ray did a G.G. Allin tribute band. So think about that for just a second. Now, if you're going to do a G.G. Allin tribute band, what are you going to do? You're probably going to cut yourself, you're probably going to shit, you're probably going to piss, you're probably going to be punching the audience, right? Those are kind of, if you're not going to do that, you're not doing a G.G. Allin tribute band.
Right.
Well, this guy went so far as to book a show. They knew what kind of a show it was. The manager said, "I'm not going to put up with any of your hijinks tonight, so don't pull anything." They get up on stage, and Ray says, "The manager said don't pull any hijinks tonight." And then he proceeds to take out a razor blade and run it across the top of his skull, which indeed causes him to bleed profusely. If you've ever cut your forehead, you know that just keeps bleeding and bleeding. The old wrestlers used to use that trick back in the day. So he's bleeding all over the place, and it's pretty gory, but he's still going. He's still singing. Well, someone gives him the bright idea to take coffee grounds and pound them into his skull to kind of dampen the blood going everywhere, which proceeds to him pulling out a piece of hair from the top of his head that has coagulated blood and coffee all over it, and him screaming into the mic, "I coagulate really well, everybody," and throws the hair into the audience. At this point, the show gets shut down. Management is completely upset, and they throw a bill at Ray for having to bring a hazmat team into the venue and clean everything up. Now, that's the story. The interesting part of that story that I didn't tell you that I like the best is later on, Ray's talking about taking that razor blade and running it down the top of his skull. He says, "I know I went too deep when my face began to sink."
Damn. That's fucked up. That's pretty fucked up, man.
Merry Christmas, Mom.
Dude, it's funny you mentioned the story about the guy fucking puking on the couch and then turning the cushion over, because that reminds me of something that actually happened to me when I was in my teens. I was living with my grandparents, and they were out of town for like a weekend or something, and I had this little house party there, and my buddies came over, and we're sitting there getting drunk in the fucking living room, and my buddy fucking passes out on the couch, and he pukes all over it. And I tried to clean it up as good as I could, but I just couldn't get all of it. I was fucked up too. So in the end, I just fucking flipped over the cushion, just like what you said. But it definitely did not work like that. Yeah, I got in big trouble the next day when they came home. And I mean, it was bad. Yeah, it's funny. I totally forgot about that until you fucking mentioned that shit, man.
That's why you do these interviews, man. This is awesome.
Good times, man. Good times. So what's coming next for Cold Black River, man? What do you guys got coming up?
Next Saturday, we're playing a thing here in town called Riff Raff Fest. And what it is this band called Cosmic Relic, that, again, if you haven't checked them out, please check out Cosmic Relic. They're from here. They're really good. 7 seasons deep. If you like really kick-ass hard rock with really amazing harmonies, listen to those guys. Lords of the Trident, which I'd be super surprised you guys haven't heard of, because those guys are fucking insane. They're basically like a walking, talking D&D game with flaming swords and thrash metal. It's amazing. Lords of the Trident are ridiculous. Droids Attack, again, I love those guys. Probably my favorite local band, actually. And then our Dumbasses will be there as well. It's just all about the riff. It's all about supporting heavy music in Madison. All of the bands have really stellar merch, and super good CDs and vinyl, which is also awesome. And it's just going to be a kick-ass time.
Hell yeah. Well, for everybody out there listening that wants to go check you guys out, where can they go online to check more about you guys?
The easiest, of course, is just coldblackraver.com. Check that out. That will lead you to all the social media. And naturally, you can go to Facebook and type in Cold Black River with the first thing that should pop up. Even if you Google us, Cold Black River, we should be the first thing that comes right up. We have everything out there. We've got the YouTube channel, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, your mom. We've got it all.
Nice. Right on, man. Well, also, I got to give a big shout out to Doer PR, man. How'd you guys get hooked up with him, man? He's fucking cool, dude. He sends me a lot of good stuff.
So, again, the Wardens from Wausau, which are friends of ours, and again, we got to play Shred Fest with them in February. When they met up with us at Shred Fest, they kind of pulled us over to the side and they said, "Hey, you need to get a hold of this guy. He would really help you, and I think it would be a really good fit." And we're like, wow, cool. So that's the next thing that we should do then. So I got a hold of him, and I said, so, I want you to listen to our stuff. I want you to go to our website. I want you to check out our social media. And then I want you to come back to me and say that you actually want to do it because you like it. Because that was important. I didn't want to just work with somebody that's just going to do this for a gig. I'm hoping that people kind of like the stuff, as most artists or bands would say. He got back to us like within 3 hours and said, "I really like your stuff. I'd really like to talk." And we just sat down and said, how does this work? What can we do? And what are some things that we can do on our end that would, expedite all of this fun stuff? And it's been a really cool relationship. It's neat. It's weird to think of hiring a PR firm to pimp your band, which is essentially what you're doing. But they also kind of walk you through that world. Like, how do you write a press release? How do you get that information out to media outlets so that they will cover you in some way, whether they're putting you on their calendar or they're posting your show at that venue, or they're going to do an interview with you, or they're going to review your album. All of those things that kind of go into that chain that help you get your music out to more people. and hopefully people that really dig it. And I don't know, man. The guy's a consummate professional. He's really nice. He's super down to earth. He doesn't BS you. I really love when I said, should we do this? He's like, no, don't hire me to do that. Just hire me to do this. So he's very straightforward, very direct. And that's another thing that I absolutely appreciate. Honestly, I can't recommend him enough. He's super cool.
That's cool that you mentioned that you wanted to make sure that he liked what you were doing, because I've noticed, and I get a lot of different PR and record labels and stuff sending me music and interviews and stuff like that. But I've definitely noticed with Curtis I sort of know what to expect whenever I open up his emails. I mean, I don't exactly know what to expect, but I sort of got an idea of what it's going to be. And I wonder if it's because he's mostly doing stuff that he actually genuinely likes. You know, I mean, I know that they're doing it's a business. They got to do what's going to make them money too at the same time. But I kind of feel like
it's a hell of a lot easier for you to. It's a hell of a lot easier for you to sell something that you believe in.
Yeah,
it's hard to sell something that you don't believe in. Like our friend Dustin, who has Spaceship. During the day, what he does is he sets up these $100,000 sound systems for casinos and huge corporations and churches and things like that. And he's able to upsell these people so well because he believes in the technology and he believes in the product and the sound. He wants to give you the most perfect sound possible for whatever application it is. And I think him having that love of that helps that, or appreciation for it, or like of it in that case. And I definitely got that from Curtis. He seems to genuinely like our stuff. And that's what you want. I mean, shit, as an artist, all you really want is for people to like your shit.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. Well, I'm about out of questions for you. Is there anything else you want to add, let the people know?
Hey, I can't thank you enough for taking this much time to talk to my dumb ass. I appreciate it.
Hey, anytime, dude. Any fucking time.
Sweet. Well, keep us in the loop, man. And if we've got anything new coming out, we'll certainly reach out to you.
I will for sure. And before I let you go, I got to get you to make us a station tag, all right?
Sure, yeah.
All right, whenever you're ready, say something like, this is Cold Black River, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio.
Metal Devastation Radio. Okay. Hey, this is Eric from Cold Black River, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio.
Fuck yeah, man. Well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to blast some more Cold Black River for these motherfuckers so they can go nuts, all right?
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. You guys have a good night.
All right, you too, dude.
Take care.
Later. There you have it, folks. Cold Black River on the Zach Moonshine Show, live with Metal Devastation motherfucking Radio. Like I said earlier, man, if your speakers aren't in your fucking windows or in your fucking front lawns, wherever the fuck you can put them to make motherfuckers hear this shit, I'm serious, man. You need to see U-Haul trucks pulling up tomorrow. And, you know, these motherfuckers need to want to get the fuck out of there, man. Unless you live in a fucking trailer park full of fucking metalheads. You know what I'm talking about, man. Crank it the fuck up. This is Cold Black River. Track is called Keep Rollin'.